quote that I've said a few times, and I think I've said it in a private conversation with you at one point. There's an interview from 2019 with Alexei Arestovich. He's an advisor to Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. And in 2019, so this is like, there has been a different kind of war since 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, and there were these rebel regions that were supported by Russian forces, but not anywhere close to the scale of the war that is happening now. And so in 2019, he's sitting there talking to a reporter, and he's describing how he sees the situation, his analysis of the situation, and then the choices that he sees as facing Ukraine in the face, staring Ukraine in the face, and what he thinks is the correct choice. His analysis is this: we can't afford neutrality, simply geographically. We're surrounded by, there's a huge border with Russia. Russia is a big military force. There's NATO on the other side. Russia is the big issue there because already there's been a war, but he actually in passing mentions Hungary, and he says, what about Hungary? What about other territorial claims? Because there are parts of Ukraine that used to belong to other countries. And he says, we're not going to be able to maintain neutrality. We would need way too much money and resources for that, to have our own standing army that can defend us from anybody who wants to see us as part of their camp. And so the choices we're facing are either we're going to join NATO, or we're going to have to join the Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan customs union, it's called. And I don't want that, he says. We've been in the Soviet Union. I don't want the repetition of that. So I would rather be a part of NATO. If we go in that direction and we get whatever that's called, path, I forget, there's a formulation, like NATO presents a country with, here's what you need to do to join. If we get to that step, Russia will invade, and there's going to be a big war because Russia can't afford that. And the reason there is going to be a big war is Russia will need to turn everything into rubble here, so that NATO is not interested anymore. NATO is not interested in getting a country that has no infrastructure as a member of the alliance. And so he's saying this is the fork in the road. Either we're going to be consumed by Russia in 10 to 12 years, or we're going to try to join NATO. We're not going to be able to right away because Russia will attack first. There's going to be a big war. And then the reporter says, well, which of these choices is better? And he says a big war with Russia, a victory in that war, and NATO membership as a result of that victory. And I think the reason I keep coming back to that exchange is his not, like his choices there. I don't know if his analysis is correct or not, but the way he lays it out is our choices are constricted by our situation, geographic situation, but we do have a choice. And then he argues for a particular choice. So he's not playing the victim there. He's saying we have to make a choice, and he argues for one of them, and it's I guess in his view, the least bad option.
I'm listening to you and am moved by this way that you are framing things. Who is he again?
He's an advisor to the president of Ukraine, and now he's like doing daily briefings on the state of the war. I guess playing a kind of military advisor.
It makes me ask the question, what choice do we have? And here now I'm talking about the United States. What choice do I have? And I'm now talking about Glenn Loury. What's happening over there to me as a human being and as an American? And when you put it in terms of the Ukrainian reckoning about the constellation of historical forces and where that leaves the Ukrainian nationalist a fork in the road choices to make. I'm asking myself, why do I care about how those choices are made? What is it? Is there a correct somehow? Uh, I don't trust the invocation of freedom here. That let the Ukrainian be free to the self determination. I'm not against it. I'm not against it, but I'm just. I feel like it might not be subtle enough, supple to be able to. It's black and white again. It's black and white, and So, I mean, here, putting it very sharply, why would the United States risk nuclear conflict with Russia about this dispute? There's something at stake for the Ukrainians about returning to the consortium, the federation that was reflected in the Soviet arrangement. There's something at stake for Ukrainians, but what is there at stake for me? Is human freedom really being tested here? What am I missing? I guess it's supposed to be obvious. It's supposed to be obvious that this is the Spanish Civil War, where you fight the fascists, right? I mean, where you go and you fight the fascists, and is that really correct? I don't know if it's right, and the stakes could be incredibly high. So these forces that are working themselves out in the wake of the collapse of the Soviet Union are how do they fit into the story of the 21st century in terms of human liberty? I don't know. No one's talking about China. Now you're going to say, what aboutism? I'm changing the subject. I'm not sure I'm changing the subject at all. I'm not sure I am. It feels like a big geopolitical complex thing, and the black and white colors that people are painting it in make me feel a little bit unsettled.
Yeah. We're about at our time range. Let me try to ask a question that's related to what you just said. So when the Soviet Union fell apart, there was a 91 to 93 window where the country was going to make some kind of a decision. There was a constitutional crisis in 1993 where the parliament and the president couldn't decide who has higher authority. The parliament was controlled by the communists. The president was Yeltsin, capitalist, ostensibly democratic. The crisis was resolved by the president ordering the tanks to fire at the building of the parliament. The same year, a new constitution was signed that shifted the balance of power significantly towards the executive branch and the president. The term used in Russia is Russia has become a super presidential republic, as opposed to a parliamentary republic or a presidential republic. And I don't know to what extent the US has played a role in this, but it did. If you go to the USAID website and they list in their accomplishments in Russia, they say, we helped draft the Constitution of 1993, among other things.